A touching tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman that's also a thrilling new installment in the MCU saga, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was a tall order, but Marvel Studios pulled it off. Here's how. Wakanda Forever is the 30th feature film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. By now, audiences are so familiar with the MCU's opening credits format, we could all probably reproduce the moving letters and rousing music from memory. But Marvel has been experimenting with its recognizable logo as of late. The titles for Thor: Love and Thunder swapped the traditional MCU soundtrack for a Guns N' Roses-esque power ballad version, and Werewolf by Night bypassed them altogether for its own short, snappy, and brightly colored introduction. But Marvel Studios' opening credits have never looked or sounded like they do in Wakanda Forever, and they've never been used for such a purpose before. The standard sequence sees hand-drawn Marvel Comics illustrations morph into live-action Marvel Studios film clips, all on the surface of 3D block letters. As each new superhero is introduced, they get added to the next entry's graphics. But this time, rather than the entire stable of Marvel superheroes being represented, every still and clip is of Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa. For the first time, there's no music underscoring the visuals. It's 30 seconds of respectful silence. As the words Marvel Studios fix themselves in the center of the screen, they briefly glow purple, the shade of the heart-shaped herb, before fading into the silver and black of T'Challa's Black Panther suit. There's nothing especially deep about superficial changes to a corporate logo, but they help to set the tone for the film that's about to unfold. Boseman's tragic death in August of 2020 meant that Black Panther: Wakanda Forever had to be rewritten from a script that was already in the works. Fans and filmmakers alike debated about the best way forward for the franchise. Given the choice between recasting the main character or elevating the status of one of the supporting players, director and co-writer Ryan Coogler opted for the latter and got to work retooling the script. The movie opens with a heart-wrenching scene in which Shuri is racing against the clock to improve the formula for her synthetic heart-shaped herb. But before she can test out the unlikely cure, her mother, Queen Ramonda, announces that T'Challa has gone to his ancestors. The Black Panther's death from an illness that modern medicine, even Wakanda's, can't treat is an obvious allusion to Boseman's own death from colon cancer at the age of 43. It was both smart screenwriting and compassionate collaboration that led to this decision. As Coogler explained to The Hollywood Reporter, Boseman's family consulted on the film, which ensured that the final product would show the late actor proper deference. Other franchises have had to deal with similar issues, though not to this extent. For example, Carrie Fisher's death between production on The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker deeply affected the final chapter of the Star Wars saga. She was expected to play a larger role in the third movie in the sequel trilogy, but her death changed those plans. By not straying too far from the truth, Wakanda Forever allows us to mourn Boseman and T'Challa at the same time without trivializing the tragedy. The primary way we and the characters in Wakanda Forever mourn the loss of the real actor and the fictional king is through T'Challa's emotional and elaborate funeral festivities. In Captain America: Civil War, T'Challa talks to Natasha about how he's processing his own father's death after the bombing in Vienna.
In my culture, death is not the end.
Since Wakandans believe in an afterlife and a spiritual realm, the sad occasion of the king's funeral is both an opportunity to grieve and a celebration of his life. Pulling from African cultural and religious heritage, Wakanda's people gather in gauzy white ceremonial clothing. There's dancing, singing, and mourning. There are plenty of nods to Chadwick Boseman's vaunted place in the MCU as well. During the funeral, we see a shot of two drummers playing in front of a mural of King T'Challa. Wakandan letters surround a black and white painting of the fallen Black Panther's face. Production designer Hannah Beachler actually developed a written language for Wakanda in the first film, according to IndieWire. From what we can see, some of those characters are used here to spell out "The King lives" and "The Panther forever with us." The mural gives filmmakers a way to show T'Challa's face without Boseman's physical presence and without resorting to flashbacks too often. But it's also a reference to something that really happened in the wake of the beloved actor's death. Disneyland commissioned an official mural of Chadwick Boseman that was displayed at Downtown Disney, and it eventually moved to a children's hospital, where it will remain as a permanent installation. Other murals began to pop up around the country to honor the man who had been a hero and an inspiration to so many. The mural in Wakanda Forever is an acknowledgement of T'Challa's importance to the Wakandans and of Boseman's importance to multiple communities. The Wakandan alphabet can be spotted throughout both Black Panther films. In Wakanda Forever, Riri Williams is taken back to the secretive African nation and sees their rich culture and advanced technology for the first time. As she's given a sort of VIP tour, the Dora Milaje stand guard in front of rectangular columns which are lit from within and decorated with Wakandan characters. Each one contains a word or phrase, and the 5 that are most visible during Riri's visit spell "In power, T'Challa, our hero, and honor forever." It appears the designers added this detail as an Easter egg and an extra way to stamp Boseman's memory onto the set. That nobody can replace T'Challa as king or as Black Panther in the movie becomes a meta-commentary on the idea that nobody could really replace Chadwick Boseman in the role. Wakanda is without its protector because Eric Killmonger, aka N'Jadaka, burned the reserves of the heart-shaped herb so that no one could challenge him during the events of the original film.
Burn it all!
So, as Wakanda Forever begins, literally no one can replace T'Challa since the enhanced powers of the Black Panther aren't available to them without their vibranium-laced plants. Queen Ramonda is acting as regent. Shuri seems more interested in science than politics, and M'Baku is content to lead the Jabari and be an ally of the Wakandan crown. And since Shuri has given up on the idea of creating a synthetic heart-shaped herb, everybody else has given up on the idea of there ever being a Black Panther again. Indeed, there isn't one until the climax of Wakanda Forever. Narratively, this works well to give Boseman his due and to build anticipation for the moment when Shuri finally takes the mantle. One of the reasons Chadwick Boseman's loss hit so hard among moviegoers who didn't know him personally was because the actor gave off such a warm, authentic, and eminently likable energy. He brought that energy to T'Challa, who was among the more stoic characters in the MCU. Black Panther didn't get quips and gags like Iron Man, Ant-Man, Star-Lord, or Doctor Strange. He was the MCU's straight man, even more so than Captain America. In stark contrast, Killmonger, his cousin and antagonist in Black Panther, got to chew the scenery while T'Challa remained regal and restrained. Michael B. Jordan gets to come back in one of the MCU's most purposeful cameos as Killmonger, who didn't make it out of the last movie alive. When Shuri enters the ancestral plane, she wants to see her brother or her mother. Instead, she sees Killmonger, who shares the rage she has at having lost her family. It would have been unrealistic for Killmonger, a notoriously confrontational and viciously honest character, to have softened too much toward his former rival. What N'Jadaka has to say to Shuri about her brother is completely in keeping with his character. He admits that T'Challa was a good man, but warns Shuri that he was too noble for his own good. Shuri takes this advice to heart, waging war against the Talokan until she realizes her and Namor's thirst for vengeance can only end in calamity for both of their nations. After the climactic battle in Wakanda Forever, Shuri heads to Haiti to burn her funeral clothes and finally grieve her brother's passing in peace. Shots of the fibers burning are intercut with breathtaking shots of Shuri in profile beginning to cry. When she closes her eyes, we see a montage of her memories of T'Challa made up of Boseman's highlights from his 4-film tenure in the MCU. These clips crossfade into the end credits, accompanied by Rihanna's new original song, Lift Me Up, the lyrics of which include the repeated phrase, "Keep me in the warmth of your love when you depart." It's undoubtedly the quietest, calmest, and most earnest ending in MCU history. This symbolic end to Shuri's mourning period is also incredibly cathartic for the audience, who's probably dabbing the tears from their eyes when the final title card appears, reading, "Dedicated to our friend, Chadwick Boseman."
It's a beautiful contribution to Chadwick's legacy.
Usually Marvel's mid- and end-credit stingers are reserved for teasing new projects and making tongue-in-cheek jokes. Wakanda Forever uses its lone and longer-than-usual mid-credit scene to touchingly and gracefully transition the Black Panther franchise within a franchise onto the next leg of its journey. While Shuri's still having a moment on the beach, Nakia walks down to where she's sitting with a young boy. She introduces him as her son and Shuri's nephew, Toussaint. As it happens, T'Challa prepared Nakia and their secret son for his death, and the family of two has been staying away from whatever drama will await the young prince when he comes of age. Shuri is heartened to find out that Ramonda got to meet her grandson before she died. Then, the adorable kid tells his aunt Shuri that Toussaint is his Haitian name, but his real name is T'Challa. This new and unexpected mid-credits information is an elegant solution to the problem of whether or not to cast a new King T'Challa. Introducing the character's son allows Boseman to remain the sole actor to portray King T'Challa, son of T'Chaka, while the next generation's T'Challa can eventually become a part of the MCU in his own right.